Welcome back. Today we're trying to crack open the black box. And I don't just mean that as a metaphor. We are literally going to look at the invisible engine that decides what 8 billion people see, and maybe more importantly, what they don't see when they type something into a search bar.
The don't see part is probably the bigger story here.
It really is. It is Sunday, February 8th, 2026. And if you work anywhere near search or content if you just exist online, you know the ground has shifted under our feet this week.
Shifted that's a polite way of putting it. It feels a bit more like a tectonic plate just slipped.
Absolutely. Just 3 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, February 5th, Google dropped what they're calling the Discover update. And if you look at the chatter, the forums, the early data, this is not just a tweak. This is a major statement.
A statement of intent, for sure.
Right. But that update is really just the tip of the spear for what we're hoping to cover today. We have a massive stack of source material here. I'm looking at the official Google Search Status Dashboard, and we've pulled data going back 5 years. We have some incredibly dense technical documentation on crawling and indexing.
The stuff that puts you to sleep but is, absolutely essential.
Totally.
Yeah.
We've got guides from LinkGraph on the, let's call them the dark arts of cloaking, and a whole timeline of algorithm updates that, honestly, it reads like a geological history of the internet.
It really does. And I think the mistake a lot of people make, and this is why we need to do this deep dive, is they think about this stuff as just tech support. It's like, oh, my website dropped in the rankings, let me call the plumber.
Right.
This isn't plumbing. This
Yeah.
is the active curation of human knowledge. We were looking at the gatekeepers. These algorithms, these so-called invisible rules, they are determining the flow of information for the entire species. That's not an exaggeration.
No, that's the scale we are absolutely operating on. And looking at all this material, specifically the really technical docs on things like HTTP status codes and schema,
Yeah.
it really strikes me that we've moved from a world where we tried to, trick a calculator into a world where we are now trying to teach an AI.
That is the fundamental shift right there. The line between what we call optimization and what is outright manipulation, it has always been a little thin, a little blurry.
Yeah.
But in 2026, with AI driving this zero-click future we're all talking about, that line is basically disappearing.
Yeah.
And if you cross it, even by accident, the penalties are, well, they're existential for a business.
So our mission today is to decode some of this jargon, cloaking, no follows, the whole 410 versus 404 debate, but to do it with this new understanding that we are dealing with a totally different kind of machine now.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Let's start with the stuff that keeps engineers up at night. Section 1, the dark arts. Specifically, let's talk about cloaking.
Cloaking, yeah, it sounds like something out of a spy novel, doesn't it?
Or Star Trek.
Yeah.
Raise shields and cloak the ship. But in the context of the internet, and looking at the LinkGraph data here, this is a very specific, and I mean very deceptive, technical practice. We aren't talking about something simple like a paywall.
No, not at all.
We are talking about deliberately presenting one version of a web page to search engine bots, to the crawlers, and a completely different, often malicious version to actual human users.
Exactly. And to really get your head around why this is such a high-stakes game, you have to understand the motivation. I mean, why would anyone go through the massive technical headache of maintaining two completely separate versions of a site?
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is. And it's usually because you're trying to hide something nasty.
The analogy I always come back to is the restaurant health inspector. It's like, the inspector's coming. That's Googlebot, right? So when they walk in, you usher them into this pristine, spotless, stainless steel kitchen. Everything is perfect. Fresh vegetables, perfectly labeled expiration dates. The hygiene is impeccable. They check their boxes, write down grade A, and then they leave.
Right. The perfect picture.
But the second a real paying customer walks in the door, you turn around and serve them food from a greasy, dirty dumpster out in the back alley.
That is a visceral but a very, very accurate analogy. But let's get technical for a second, because the how of it is actually fascinating. The documentation we have here highlights two main methods this is done: user agent cloaking and IP-based cloaking.
Okay, let's break that down. User agent cloaking. That relies on the digital fingerprint that every browser leaves, right?
That's it. Every single request that hits a web server carries something called a user agent string. It's a little piece of text that identifies who is asking for the page. It might say, I am Chrome on a Windows machine, or I am Safari on an iPhone, or this is the key part, I am Googlebot 2.1.
Ah, so the server just reads that label.
Precisely. The server has a script running, a little gatekeeper of its own. It checks the user agent. If it sees Googlebot, it serves up a beautiful, high-quality, text-heavy essay on the history of pharmaceutical chemistry. Google's crawler reads it, indexes it, and ranks it very high for all sorts of valuable chemistry terms.
But if I come along on my phone,
But if the user agent is Safari on iPhone, that same script on the server serves you a completely different page, one that's full of ads for illegal supplements or links to online gambling sites.
and IP-based is, I assume, even harder to fake. Because Google is pretty open about their IP ranges, aren't they?
They are. They publish their IT ranges so that network administrators don't accidentally block them with firewalls. It's public knowledge. But of course, bad actors use that public list for their own purposes. They use it to whitelist Google.
So if the request comes from Mountain View, California,
Right. If the server sees the request is coming from a known Google IP address, it shows the clean, pristine website, the health inspector's kitchen. If the request comes from an IP address in, say, Ohio or London, it shows the spam, the back alley dumpster.
the notes here also mention hidden text, which feels like, I don't know, a dinosaur from a bygone era of the web. This is the old white text on a white background trick, isn't it?
It is ancient, but you would be shocked how often people still try it. They'll use CSS, the styling language of the web, to set the font color to white on a white background. Or they'll use positioning to push a block of text 5,000 pixels off to the left of the screen so a user would never see it.
But the bot reads the code, so it sees the text.
The bot sees it, and the idea is to just stuff it with keywords. Cheap insurance, best insurance, free insurance. So the bot reads all these relevant terms and boosts the ranking, but the human user just sees a clean, simple design.
It just seems so primitive. I have to ask, does this actually still work in 2026? I mean, with the vision capabilities of modern AI, can it just see the page?
For a very, very short time. Maybe. You might get away with it for a day, a week, if you're incredibly lucky. But you are essentially playing Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun. This is what we call a black hat technique. It's a direct, unambiguous violation of Google's Webmaster Guidelines.
And their detection methods are way beyond just reading text now.
Oh, miles beyond. Search engines now use what they call advanced crawl simulations.
Okay, so this is the interesting part. The bot doesn't just read the HTML code anymore.
No, that's the key. It renders the page. It actually loads it up in a browser that has no screen, a headless browser, and it takes a screenshot. Then it uses machine learning, computer vision to compare the text it found in the source code versus the text that is actually visible in that final screenshot.
So if the code says the word insurance 50 times, but the visual rendering just shows a blank white box.
Red flag.
Massive red flag.
Yeah, the system immediately flags it for a human review or an automated penalty. And the penalty isn't just, a slap on the wrist or a small drop in rankings. It's de-indexation.
Which we should clarify is the digital death penalty.
It is. Your site, your domain, it ceases to exist in Google's world. Google just wipes it from its memory. You could type your specific, unique brand name into the search bar, and you will not show up. And good luck ever trying to get back in their good graces after that.
Now, there is a more sinister side to this that the notes bring up, which honestly I hadn't fully considered before. We usually think of the site owner as the villain in this scenario. They're the one cloaking. But often the site owner is actually the victim.
The hacked site scenario. This is, and I'm not being dramatic, this is terrifying for a small business owner. Hackers will find a vulnerability and break into a legitimate website, maybe a local bakery, a small accounting firm, a community news blog, and they don't deface the site, they inject a cloaking script.
So the bakery owner goes to their own website.
And it looks perfectly normal because the hacker's script is smart. It sees the owner's IP address, or it sees that they are logged in as an administrator, and it makes sure to show them the clean, normal site.
But when a new user, a potential customer, searches for that bakery, or, more importantly, when Googlebot comes to crawl it,
they get redirected to a phishing scam or a malware download or some other spammy site.
Wow, so you are being cloaked from the hack that's on your own website? You don't even know you're hacked because the entire purpose of the hack is to hide from you.
Exactly. And then you wake up one morning, you check your analytics, and you see your traffic has just completely flatlined. It's gone to zero overnight because Google has de-indexed you for cloaking. And you had no idea. It is an absolute nightmare to clean up, both technically and with your reputation.
Okay, so let's add some important nuance here, though. Because not everything that shows different content and different users is evil. I mean, we live in a dynamic web. What about something like a paywall? The New York Times shows me a headline and then a subscribe now button, but Google needs to read the full article to rank it. Is that cloaking?
That is the perfect example of the gray area where intent really, really matters. Google has a name for this. They call it flexible sampling. And technically, yes, you are showing the bot the full article while showing the user a login screen.
So it fits the definition.
It does, but you are doing it with structured data. You are using schema markup, which we'll get into later, to explicitly tell the bot, hey, just so you know, this is paywalled content.
So transparency is the key. You're not trying to deceive the bot.
Right. As long as you aren't lying to the bot about the fundamental nature of the content, it's generally allowed. It's the same with geolocation. If I visit a major e-commerce site from Paris, seeing French content and prices in euros, while the bot in California sees English and US dollars, that's not cloaking.
As long as the product is the same.
Provided the core content intent is the same. You're selling the same shoes, you're just adapting the language and currency for the user, you're personalizing, not deceiving.
So if there's a rule of thumb for 2026, it seems to be, don't lie to the AI.
That's probably just good life advice in general at this point.
Fair point. Okay, let's move on to section 2. We've covered the dark arts, which is the scary stuff. Now let's talk about the traffic rules. The plumbing. Crawling, indexing, and these status codes. And I want to get specific here because I think a lot of people, their eyes just glaze over with this stuff. But this is really where the game is won or lost on a technical level.
That's not sexy, you're right. But if your plumbing is broken, your house floods. It really doesn't matter how nice your furniture is at that point.
So let's break down the basic cycle. It's 3 steps, right? Crawling, rendering, and indexing.
Think of it like a global supply chain for information. Crawling is the discovery phase. The Googlebot is like a fleet of truck drivers fanning out across the world to pick up raw materials, which are your web pages.
Okay, so they're just finding this stuff.
Just finding it.
Yeah.
Then comes rendering, which is the processing step. The factory, which is Google's infrastructure, takes those raw materials, the code of your page, unpacks them, executes all the JavaScript, and figures out what they actually are. What does this page look like to a human?
And finally, indexing.
Indexing is the warehousing. The finished product is analyzed, categorized, and stored in a colossal digital warehouse so that it can be instantly shipped to a customer, the searcher, the moment they ask for it.
And I think the key thing to understand is if that truck driver, the crawler, can't find your pickup spot, or if the door is locked, nothing else in that chain happens.
The entire process breaks down at step 1, and this is where HTTP status codes come into play. This is the language the warehouse speaks to the truck driver. It's how your server communicates with the bot.
We all know the good one. 200, oh, that just means the door is open, come on in, the content is here. But let's look at the ones that cause problems, the redirects, specifically a 301 versus a 302. I feel like this is a classic interview question for SEOs, but the real-world implications are huge.
They are. It's all about the transfer of reputation. A 301 status code means moved permanently. You are explicitly telling Google, I have moved out of apartment A and I now live in apartment B. Please forward all my mail, and more importantly, please forward my credit score.
That credit score is the link equity.
It is. It's the authority, the trust. If a major site like the BBC links to your old page, a 301 redirect ensures that that powerful vote of confidence is passed along to the new page. Now, a 302 is different. It means found or moved temporarily.
It's like saying...
That's like telling Google, I'm just staying in an Airbnb for a week, but my real home is still apartment A. So Google keeps the old address in its main address book, and if you use a 302 by mistake when you actually moved permanently,
You're in trouble.
You are essentially throwing away all of that history, all of that reputation. You're telling Google, don't give the new page any credit for the old page's history. It's a very common and very costly mistake.
Okay, now let's talk about the 400s. The client error codes. Everyone has seen a 404 page. Oops, this page can't be found. But the notes here highlight a different one. A 410 gone. This feels like a secret weapon that almost nobody uses.
It is so underutilized. A 404 is, by its nature, ambiguous. It just says, I can't find this page right now. But why? Maybe the server's just having a temporary glitch. Maybe the file was misplaced and it'll be back tomorrow. Googlebot is persistent. It will come back and check that 404 URL again tomorrow. And then again next week, and maybe the week after that, just in case.
Which wastes what's called your crawl budget.
Exactly. Every website has a finite amount of attention that Googlebot can give it on any given day. It's a resource. And if the bot is wasting half its time checking on dead 404 pages that are never coming back, it's not spending that time crawling your important new articles or your new product pages.
So 410 is more definitive?
It's absolutely, it says, gone, dead, deleted on purpose. This page is never, ever coming back. Stop looking for it.
Say do not resuscitate order for a URL.
That's a perfect way to put it. It tells Google to de-index that page immediately and, crucially, to stop wasting crawl budget checking on it. If you run an e-commerce store and you discontinue a whole product line, don't just 404 those pages, 4hen them. Free up your budget for the products you actually sell.
And here's where we get to the real 2026 hook, the AI connection. The notes here explicitly mention that these error codes, the 404s, the 410s, especially the 500s, have a direct impact on LLM training.
This is absolutely critical for anyone thinking about the future. We are now living in the age of large language models. These models, the things that power AI overviews and chatbots, they need to ingest massive amounts of high-quality content to learn facts about the world. If your site is constantly throwing 500-level errors, which means your server is broken or overwhelmed, or if you have thousands of soft 404s, the LLM crawlers simply cannot read your content.
And if you can't read it,
it can't learn from it. It's that simple. If you want your brand to be the authoritative source, when someone asks an AI, what is the best running shoe for flat feet, your content has to be in the training data for that AI. A broken, error-filled site is an invisible site to the future of search. We aren't just fighting for a spot on a list of 10 blue links anymore. We are fighting for inclusion in the very brain of the machine.
That is a massive paradigm shift. It's not just about user experience anymore. It's about machine availability.
Precisely. Your content has to be available and healthy for the bots.
So let's talk about how we can control these bots more directly. The classic matchup, robots.txt versus meta tags. The notes call robots.txt the do not enter sign on the front lawn. I like that.
It's a good mental model. The robots.txt file sits at the root of your domain. It's the very first thing a well-behaved bot like Googlebot checks before it does anything else. It's a public file with a set of rules. It might say, you're allowed in the blog section, but stay out of the admin section. It stops the crawl before it even begins.
And the meta robots tag.
That's a note that you leave inside the house, on the coffee table. The bot has to be allowed to enter the house, walk into the room, pick up the piece of paper, and read the instruction. And that instruction might be no index.
Which means
you can look around this room, but please do not put it in your public index. Don't show this in search results. Or it could be no follow, which says don't follow any of the links you find on this page.
There is a common mistake highlighted here in the source materials that I love because it's so perfectly counterintuitive. It says, never block a page in your robots.txt file, and put a noindex tag on that same page. Why? I mean, that sounds like you're being extra careful, double bagging your groceries.
It sounds safe, but logically it's a trap. Think about the sequence of events. If you put a big do not enter sign on the front lawn, that's your robots.txt block, the bot respects that. It never sets foot inside the house.
Right, it stops at the curb.
And if it never enters the house, it never sees the note you left on the coffee table, the no index tag.
So it doesn't know you want the page removed from the index.
Exactly. It just knows the URL exists, maybe because some other website linked to it. So what happens is the URL might still appear in search results, but it will have no title and no description snippet. It will just say, no information is available for this page because of its robots.txt. You haven't actually hidden it. You've just blinded the bot to your instructions on how to handle it.
That is a classic task failed successfully moment.
Yeah.
You've achieved the opposite of your goal.
Uh-huh.
So if you want a page gone from the index, you have to let the bot in to read the eviction notice.
Exactly. You have to allow the crawl, but compel the no index.
Before we leave this section, a quick shout out to another meta tag mentioned here, the unavailable Eafter tag. This feels like something out of Mission Impossible. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
It's incredibly useful, especially for e-commerce or any kind of time-sensitive content. Imagine you're selling tickets for the February 8th concert. You can put a meta tag on that page that says, unavailable after February 9th, 2026. The day after the concert, Google will see that tag and automatically drop the page from its search results. No manual cleanup needed. It keeps your index fresh and relevant.
That's smart. Very smart. Okay, section 3, the currency of trust. Let's talk about links.
Links, the original currency of the web, the foundation of everything.
We all know the basic history. PageRank, 1998. Larry Page and Sergey Brin at Stanford had this brilliant idea that a link from one page to another is a vote. If the BBC links to your tiny blog, you must be important.
It was democracy applied to documents, a revolutionary idea at the time.
But then, of course, we broke it. Humans broke it. People started selling votes, spamming blog comments with links, building automated software to create thousands of fake votes. So in 2005, we got the no-follow attribute.
The anti-spam shield. It was a new piece of code you could add to a link, real no-follow. It was created specifically to combat blog comment spam. It was a way for a site owner to tell Google, I am linking to this site because I have to or because a user posted it in a comment, but I do not endorse it. Do not pass my reputation, my page rank to them.
And for a long time, it was a directive. It was a command. Do not follow this link. Do not pass any value.
It was a strict rule until September of 2019. That was the year Google fundamentally changed the rules of the game. They announced that no follow would no longer be a directive. It would be treated as a hint.
This is huge, and I think a lot of people missed the significance of this. Why the change? Why would Google stop taking direct orders from webmasters?
Because they realized they were losing valuable data. Think about a site like Wikipedia. By policy, every single external link on Wikipedia is marked as no-follow. Now, does that mean all those links are worthless spam? Of course not. They're some of the most highly relevant, well-vetted citations on the internet. By strictly ignoring all of them, Google was blinding itself to the true structure of the web. They realized, we need to see these connections to understand the topic graph, even if the webmaster technically said no.
So now, in 2026, when you mark a link as no-follow, Google's internal monologue is basically, okay, noted, but I'm the expert here, and I might decide to use it for ranking anyway if I think it's relevant.
That's exactly it. They reserve the right to use it for ranking if they trust the source and the context.
And around the same time, they introduce new flavors of link attributes, rel-sponsored and rel-UGSI.
Right. Specificity helps the AI. If a link is an advertisement or a paid placement, you should use sponsored. This tells Google, this is a commercial link. I was paid for this. If it's a link in a forum post or a blog comment, you should use audits for user-generated content.
And this helps Google do what?
It helps them categorize the intent of the link. Is this a paid placement? Is it a random comment from a user? Or is it a true unprompted editorial vote from one author to another? Having that clarity helps them fight spam and better understand which links truly confer authority.
I have to ask about this because I remember it so clearly, the concept of link sculpting. The notes here call it a myth.
Yeah.
But I remember a time when SEOs were obsessed with this. The idea was, if I no-follow the link to my About Us page and my Terms of Service page, I can funnel more link juice, more authority to my important product page. It was like pinching a water hose to increase the pressure elsewhere.
The bucket of water theory, or PageRank sculpting, and it sort of made sense back in 2009. The thinking was, you have a bucket with 100 points of PageRank to distribute. Your page has 10 links on it, so each link passes 10 points. If you no-follow 5 of them, the theory went, the remaining 5 links would now get 20 points each.
Simple math.
But Google changed the math. Matt Cutts, who was the head of web spam at the time, came out and said that's not how it works anymore. Now, if you have 10 links and you no-follow 5 of them, that PageRank doesn't redistribute. It just evaporates. It disappears into the ether.
So you're not saving anything.
You're just wasting your own authority. The remaining 5 links still only get 10 points each. You are literally burning your own currency. And what's more, you look suspicious doing it. A natural website links to things it finds useful. Trying to hoard all your authority internally looks like manipulation to a modern algorithm.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move to the translation layer, section 4. We've talked about the dark arts, the plumbing, and the votes. Now we need to talk about language, but not English or French. We need to talk about schema. The notes from Lantern Digital describe this as a semantic vocabulary. What does that even mean?
This is one of my absolute favorite topics because it is the fundamental bridge between ambiguous human language and precise machine understanding.
Give me a concrete example. If I write the word avatar on a page.
You see the word avatar. A human reading it instantly gets the context from the rest of the page. Oh, he's talking about the movie with the blue aliens. Or, oh, this is an article about the Nickelodeon cartoon, The Last Airbender. Or, oh, this is on a social media site. It means user profile picture. A bot historically had to guess based on other keywords around it.
And it could guess wrong.
Often. Schema allows you to eliminate the guesswork. You can wrap that text in a specific type of code, usually JSON-LD, that acts like a label. It explicitly says, hey, Google, This string of text avatar is a movie. The string of text James Cameron is the director of that movie, and this number 2009 is the date created.
You are literally labeling every piece of data for the machine.
You are disambiguating the world for the machine. You're turning unstructured text into a structured database of facts.
And the payoff isn't just some abstract, oh, Google understands me better. It's something you can actually see in the search results. It's rich snippets.
It is. It's the stars, the pricing, the event dates you see right there on the results page. When you search for a recipe for chocolate chip cookies and one result has a picture of the cookies, a 4.5-star rating, 45 minutes cook time, and 350 calories per serving, all listed right there. That is schema markup at work.
I have to admit, if I'm searching for a recipe and one result has all that, and the other is just a standard blue link, I'm clicking the one with the stars in the picture every single time.
Everyone does. The data on the click-through rate explosion from rich snippets is undeniable. And for an e-commerce site, being able to show in stock and $19.99 directly in the search result is an absolute game changer.
But let's tie this back to AI again, because the notes really emphasize that schema is basically fact verification for generative AI.
Think about how a large language model works. At its core, it's just predicting the next most probable word. It can get things wrong. It can hallucinate. It absolutely hates ambiguity. If you provide clean, structured data, these hard-coded facts in JSON-LD, you are basically spoon-feeding the AI with verified information. You are saying, here's the truth, do not guess.
So if I want the AI in Google's search results to answer the question, what is the return policy for this shoe? And I have that information wrapped in the proper schema.
The AI can confidently and correctly extract that specific piece of text and present it as the answer. If that same information is just buried in a long, messy paragraph of marketing fluff, the AI might miss it or misinterpret it or get it wrong. Schema is, without a doubt, the language of the AI era of search.
Now, we can't talk about the modern web without talking about JavaScript. The web used to be simple HTML documents. Now it's built on these heavy applications like React, Angular, Vue. And the notes suggest this has created a massive headache for search engines.
It's the constant battle between user experience and crawlability. Developers love JavaScript frameworks because they allow them to build incredibly fast, smooth experiences for the user. These single-page apps or SPAs, they don't have to reload the whole page every time you click something. They just swap out the content dynamically. It feels like a native app on your phone.
But the bot.
Yeah.
The bot used to hate this, right?
Oh, it was a disaster. In the old days, a bot would download the initial HTML file of a page. But in a modern React app, that initial HTML file is basically empty. It's just a shell, a container that says, load the JavaScript app here. So the bot would download it and see a completely blank page.
An empty house.
An empty house. Now, to solve this, Google has invested a staggering amount of resources into something they call headless Chromium. They essentially run a full virtual Chrome browser for every single page they crawl. They load the empty shell, they execute all the JavaScript, they wait for all the data to be fetched for APIs, they wait for the page to build itself, and then they take a snapshot and index that final rendered version.
That sounds incredibly expensive, from a computing power standpoint.
It is mind-bogglingly expensive, and it leads to all sorts of timing issues. If your JavaScript is poorly optimized and takes 5 or 6 seconds to fully load, the bot might just time out and leave before it ever sees your content.
And this soft 404 issue in single-page apps seems particularly tricky.
This is a classic trap that developers fall into. In a normal, old-school website, if I request a page that doesn't exist, the server sends back a 404 header. Simple. In a single-page app, the server always sends the same index page with a 200 OK status, and then the JavaScript inside the browser figures out what content to show.
So if the product is out of stock or deleted,
The JavaScript might show a pretty product not found graphic to the user, but the server already told the bot 200 OK, so Google thinks, oh, this is a valid, healthy page about product not found. It will actually index your error page as a real piece of content. You have to write extra code to manually inject a noindex tag or trigger a redirect whenever that error state happens. You have to replicate the server's job inside the browser.
it really sounds like the entire job of technical SEO now is basically just being a translator. You're translating the artist's vision, the web designer, for the librarian, the bot.
That is a perfect job description.
Let's pivot to section 5, the history book. We have this great timeline from Kosioko, and we've cross-referenced it with the official search status dashboard. It goes all the way from 1998 to 3 days ago. And I think seeing this evolution really helps us predict where this is all going.
You have to look at it in eras. It tells a clear story of Google's changing intent.
Okay, let's start with what the community calls the zoo era, 2011 to 2014. We're talking about Panda and Penguin.
This was the great cleanup phase. Before 2011, the web was truly the Wild West. You had these massive content farms that were dominant. Companies like eHow, Demand Media, they were paying people $10 to write articles like how to boil water in 500 words, just so they could stuff them with ads.
And Panda in 2011 was the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs.
It was. It was the first major quality update. For the first time, Google started looking at user behavior signals. Are people clicking a result and then immediately hitting the back button? Is the content thin and unhelpful? It wiped out entire businesses overnight.
Then Penguin came along in 2012, and it came for the link spammers.
Right. If you were on a website buying a package of 5,000 links for $50, or using software to automatically blast your link into blog comments all over the web, Penguin was designed to find you and penalize you. It shifted the focus from the sheer quantity of links to the quality and relevance of links.
Then Hummingbird in 2013. The notes say this wasn't just a patch, it was a completely new engine.
A total rewrite of the core algorithm. Before Hummingbird, search was just sophisticated keyword matching. If you searched for best pizza place near me, it looked for pages that contained the literal words pizza and place. Hummingbird introduced semantic search. It understood that place meant restaurant. It understood that near me required using your phone the GPS data. It started to understand meaning and intent, not just strings of text.
Fast forward to the mobile and brain era, 2015 to 2019. First up, Mobilegeddon in 2015.
That's what the community called it. Google basically forced the entire web to become responsive and mobile-friendly. They just came out and said, as of this date, if your site doesn't work well on an iPhone, we will no longer rank it well in mobile search results. It was a brutal but absolutely necessary move.
And then later that year, RankBrain, the arrival of the AI.
The first major machine learning integration into the ranking algorithm. RankBrain was specifically designed to handle the 15% of queries that Google sees every day that it has literally never seen before. It used vector associations. If it didn't know what a word meant, it would guess based on other words that appear in similar contexts. It was the infancy of the AI we see today.
Followed by BERT in 2019.
Natural language processing. BERT was a huge leap forward because it could understand the context of words in a sequence. It finally understood that the word to in the query flight from New York to London is incredibly important. Before BERT, Google often ignored small stop words like that, so you might get results for flights from London. BERT fixed the grammar of search.
And that brings us to the modern era,
Yeah.
the 2020s. We've got MUM, helpful content, and SpamBrain.
Helpful content, which rolled out in 2022, was a real game changer. It was, ironically, a preemptive strike against the wave of low-quality AI content they knew was coming. Google's systems started actively downranking content that felt like it was written for a search engine instead of for a human. If you wrote a recipe that started with a 2,000-word story about your grandmother just to stuff in keywords...
I think we're all guilty of having read those pages.
Google basically said, enough. They want the answer, not the fluff. Put the recipe at the top.
And looking at the really recent timeline, 2024 and 2025, this is where things get incredibly volatile. The March 2024 core update. The notes here from the dashboard say it lasted 45 days.
45 days of constant flux, that is an eternity in the world of SEO. Usually an update takes a week, maybe two. This was a deep structural purge of the index. They went after what's called parasite SEO, people who were publishing spammy articles on reputable sites like Forbes or LinkedIn just to borrow their authority.
And 2025 saw multiple core updates. March, June, December. The December 2025 update ran right through the holidays. Not very kind of them.
Dis 11th to Desolate 29th. Merry Christmas to all the SEOs out there. The trend in 2025 was crystal clear. They were refining the AI signals, making the helpful content system more aggressive, and generally getting the house in order for the world we're living in now.
Which brings us right back to today, February 8th, 2026, and the Discover update from just 3 days ago. What's the significance here?
This is a big deal. For years, Google Discover, that feed of articles on your phone's homepage, it was sort of a nice-to-have traffic source. It was unpredictable. This update, by giving it a formal name and acknowledging it on the dashboard, signals that Discover is now a primary pillar of search. It has its own algorithm, its own rules. It's not about what did the user search for. It's about what does our AI predict the user wants to see next.
It's predictive search, Zero query search.
It's the ultimate black box. You can't optimize for a keyword because there is no keyword. You have to optimize for a user's interest graph. It's a whole new discipline.
So let's try to bring all of this together for the outro. We've gone from people hiding white text on white backgrounds to predictive AI that knows what you want before you even ask for it. What is the grand synthesis here?
The big picture is that the era of trying to trick the calculator is definitively over. You cannot math your way to the hashtag one spot anymore with keyword density and link counts. The black box is now a highly specialized AI that values one thing above all else. EEAT, that's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust.
And you can't fake experience. You can't just generate a blog post about reviewing a product if you've never held it.
You can't fake trust. The algorithm is now sophisticated enough to look for authentic human signals, real authors with real credentials, real-world reviews, real engagement from a community in a vast sea of cheap AI-generated noise.
So what are the actionable takeaways for our listener right now on February 8th, 2026? What should they be doing this week?
Okay, 4 things. 1, don't cloak. Just don't. The AI is a visual engine now. It will catch you, and the penalty is death.
Fix your technical plumbing. Start using 410s for your deleted content to save your crawl budget for the LLMs that are trying to learn from you.
Speak the language of the machine. Use schema markup on everything important so the AI can verify your facts and doesn't have to guess.
Understand that no follow is just a hint. Stop trying to hoard your authority. Link out to useful resources naturally. It's what a trustworthy site does.
And I want to leave everyone with a final provocative thought to chew on. We talked about AI overviews. We talked about zero-click search, where Google just answers the question directly on the results page. As that becomes the default for more and more queries, is the entire concept of ranking #1 dying?
That is the existential question facing this entire industry. If the AI provides a perfect, concise answer to the user's question, they never need to click the link. They never visit your site. So the future of this discipline, the future of SEO, it might not be about driving traffic at all. It might be about inclusion.
What do you mean by inclusion?
It's about ensuring that your brand's data, your facts, your expertise are part of the AI's core training data. You want the AI to cite you as the source. You want to say, according to your brand.
So you don't want the click anymore. You want the citation. You want the credit.
You want to be the source of truth for the machine.
Inclusion versus ranking. That is a shift in thinking that will probably keep us all busy for the next decade.
At least until the next unconfirmed update tomorrow morning.
Probably tomorrow. Go check your robots.txt files, everyone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you online.